is Rafi Chakarian. I'm professor at the Dubai Institute of Design Innovation. Some of you, if you followed the first series of Connecting the Stars last time, you might have seen my intervention, which was about aerospace design, and that's who I am. I'm an aerospace designer and with a background in industrial design, and I'm teaching for the past, actually 3 years now, in Dubai, in Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation. So for this session, I choose one of my colleagues that we teach together here in the university in Dubai, Mirko. My background was Italian, as in I did all my academic career in Italy. And strangely enough, Mirko also went to the same university that I did. And so he's Italian. And I would consider him a sort of a Leonardo da Vinci, a modern Leonardo da Vinci, adding the spice of computational design to the chart of things as well. So Mirko is an architect. He has, among other things, but also a designer, a product designer. And I will let him introduce in detail what he does. And today he has prepared an amazing talk, actually, very impactful talk. And he will present for the next, let's say 30 minutes, then we will have a sort of a dialogue and chit chat about what he has to say. So go ahead, Mirko, all yours.
Thank you very much, Rafi. Hello everyone. Welcome and thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you, Rafi, for the kind words, actually, for the beautiful introduction. Yes, I'm an architect, but I usually prefer to define myself a designer because it's a broader term and that is, allows me to actually incorporate many things in one. And also because as a professional, because so beside my, let's say the fact that I'm a colleague of Rafi, a teacher, a professor at the design at the Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation. I have also a studio, a professional studio, co-founded with my brother. And with the studio, we try to, let's say, touch different fields, operate in different fields, different scales of projects, and so on. So basically, what we try to do is to understand and manage intricate, let's say, cross-disciplinary scenarios. This is the way that we like to define it. From material system, production processes, and digital fabrication and computational design are, let's say, the tools that we use to kind of mitigate or kind of they're the interfaces, let's say, of that we use to manage, let's say, the complexity. And this is it. I mean, I would like to start the conversation because I was really, it was a challenge, actually. Can I share the screen? Give me 1 second to try, share the screen. Yes. All right. Okay. Now you should see my screen. Hopefully, just confirm, let me know so that okay, fantastic. So when I was asked to talk about how designers can change the world, or so impactful design, actually, I said, wow, I mean, this is a huge thing. I mean, actually, it's not an easy topic, and but I started to reflect and to think about the meaning and what does it mean not to think in an impactful way, or what does it mean not to have a design that is impactful, and so on. So I always try to use these occasions to kind of self-reflect also on what I do and what we do in the office as professionals and so on. So first of all, thank you very much, because it has been, again, a way to think about it. So usually what I do, the first thing is always to kind of analyze also etymologically, let's say, what does it mean impact, no? So, and if we see, in details, it's a verb now that comes from Latin impact, or impingere, so that is driven in. In other words, is the action of an object, to being in contact with another one. So it's the friction, it's the interrelationship between two entities, two different entities. And usually what you have as a result, it's a consequent effect of this relationship between these objects. And there, it's also, we can call it influence. You know, one object can influence the other. So, and this is, I mean, I think it could be a good start, you know, to think about, okay, impact has this meaning. So we can talk about that. But again, from my perspective, design is by definition impactful. The point is that the impact could be positive, negative, could be on a small scale, on a large scale, but actually because design is a way to project into the future an intention, so a will not to change the things, that are surrounding us. So there, because of this, it actually inherently, it is impactful. Probably what we have to say is that maybe we don't know how to, or better, we are not 100% sure that what we foresee is the result that we will obtain. So the point is that we have also always to take in consideration that we have a partial control over the things, no, and it's always a matter of a balance, no, and a negotiation, and also that is a flux, something that is changing over time, that is not, let's say, we're not in a completely deterministic world. So we have to really take in consideration the complexity of all the agents that are working within it. But it's very important to say that, I mean, this is again, I really strongly believe that design is an intention, or a definition of an intention. So that's a starting point also when we, let's say, act as a designer. The point is that, and again, this is a question that usually we ask ourselves when we have to act as designers, you know, what is the word that we want to change? And this is interesting, in my opinion, in the sense that usually when you say, no, how, if you go back to the title, no, how design can change the world, you have always in mind, you know, that the impact is on a global scale. So that, and it's fine, absolutely fine. But the point is that I prefer to kind of I don't want to reduce that to that scale. I want to really think that we as designers, or what you can do as a designer, is that you have to define the word that you want to talk about, that you want to intervene within, and so on. We can call it also system, and this is something that I like a lot, in the sense that it's a term that is actually defining the in a way the complexity of the topic that we're talking about. Word is a system of objects that are in relationship between each other. And then again, if we're talking about the impact, we are talking about what is the effect that you want to obtain within that word that you are defining, no? And again, this is the ambition. This is what you want probably to achieve, or that is the direction that you're, the route that you're defining. Then, you know, in between, there are many obstacles that we have to face, and that's the difficult part, you know, that we have to probably change during the process, or it's a constant calibration, you know, of the journey in a way. And again, when we talk about the impact, we can talk about that in different scales, no? So it could be on an individual scale. So again, what is the word, you know, that we're talking about? It could be on an individual scale, so that is something intimate, personal. It could be on a scale of a community, so multitude of individuals. So it's a collective, something that is shared between many people or other, let's say, could be also in general, a community. I mean, usually we intend people, but it could be something, I mean, it could be other entities. And then we have the scale, let's say, of the species, of the multi-species, if we want to say, and we can define it in a planetary level, no? The planetary scale. So, and, you know, the intention that you set up as a designer, for instance, when you start not to to think about what you're doing and so on. It could be set it up, on one of these levels, and you can tackle a project or you can propose something on one of these levels, or you can also, think about the interrelationship between, let's say, how the object or the project that you are designing, where is intervening, and maybe usually what we realize that actually the things are more interweaved than what we think. I mean, in the sense that something that has an individual impact probably then could have consequences at a community level. And then what you have a consequence, or let's say a project that is working on a community level could have a consequence in an individual level as well. So it's really management, let's say, of, again, the complexity in terms of the exchanges of energies in this way. And I like to see that the species of the planetary level is a kind of, the whole thing that we have to take in consideration. Then when we think about objects and objects, I mean, again, as a term that is comprehensive of, I mean, things that we use every day, a different scale from, I mean, a pen to a table, to a building, they could be their impact, and also the thing that, or let's say the way we design it could be driven by different, or could be understood in different levels, an emotional level, for instance. Maybe the most easy one is easy to understand is the utilitarian and functional level. So we know that if we want to design, if we have to write something, we need a pen, and so the function is to leave trace on a piece of paper, and so that is the function of the object, and so we must, I mean, or this is one level of, let's say, the function of it. But then maybe the main, I mean, another level of understanding that functionality is the fact that we want to store information, and maybe, I mean, we can change from a pen to a computer, for instance, and then, but that's another story. And then we have the cultural level, how things are defining, communities and the cultural differences between, for instance, people or other entities like animals. The behavior, how the object that we're using, they're changing our behavior, the way we use them, and then the way we behave. At the economical level, obviously, because then it's an important way to, economy here, let's say, could be understood in a way that is how we change and exchange, for instance, energies. The economy, for instance, of planet Earth, it could be understood in the way that there are these cycles, of exchange, in terms of energy and so on. Again, a product, has these all levels of understanding. You can have, for instance, a knife that is a knife designed for utilitarian or for a functional purpose, or it has a cultural meaning, a way to define its origin, or it belongs to a specific group of people, or a behavior. It's different, the use of a knife, or a table knife, than a chef knife, for instance, and it is changing also the way you act and behave on when you use it, because of, obviously, of its form, the way it's designed, and so on. But again, also at the same thing as we said before, the emotional level, the cultural level, the economical, and so on, they can, and they usually are, especially interrelated. Maybe one object is actually embedding more of these things, as things at the same time, and so in a way, this is also giving the complexity of the object itself. It's storing different things at the same time in one single object, and in a way, if we see let's say, if we have this ambition to have to design something that has an impact, for instance, on a cultural level, or on an emotional level. So we are kind of focusing our energies not to kind of be specific, that the object is conveying some cultural identities in its form, in its manifestation, or maybe again it's extremely functional, so it's an expression of the or the maximum expression of the usability, for instance, and so on. You can also, or the ambition could be also to kind of blend them together, or blend them and have, for instance, something that has a very high impact, if you have an object that is embedding in itself a cultural, emotional, utilitarian, behavioral, economical impact in itself. So again, and this could be a way to analyze not only, or let's say not only to set the ambitions, but also to then analyze afterwards, how your design is actually acting, and how it's operating in the system, let's say. Then I want to show you also some examples that are, let's say, coming from our studio, in the sense that design could be also the impact could be something that is an influence. And for example, this project that we did more than 10 years ago, actually, it had a great impact inside, let's say, in the ecosystem of the studio, because then with this project we learn a lot about it. It is a project of the interior design of ultra light aircraft using composite technologies, in the solution, to solve the technical problems of embedding the seating area with all the technical equipments. But the point is that because of this project, we learn new technologies, new techniques, and so the impact of a single project is actually, it was actually for us very important to define a series of other projects that are kind of nourished by this first one. So for instance, and this is also a change. The impact is in terms of not only in between or inside the studio, in the sense that one project actually kind of generated, other projects, but also in terms of the differentiation. So in terms of the application of technologies that is usually not applied in a specific sector or specific industry, then because of this experience, so we have the knowledge to apply it in other fields, like in architecture, in interior design, or in furniture, even if it's something that it's already explored, like in these examples here, the staircase, the stool, and the interior, this wall design for a hair salon. So if we go back again to the beginning, that I was saying, the design is by definition impactful, and again, the design is the intention to change things, not to again to program in a way, the future, to kind of control it, also because of that. The point is that this is raising some questions. How do we see the world? So the point is that before we said, what is the world? Kind of, let's define where do you want to operate? Where do you want to have an, let's say, a reaction? That is the impact, as we said. But the point is that okay, let's say another level of or let's say to enrich the discussion is, how do we see the world? So what are the values that we share, that are shared, not to generate, to create meaning, basically. And so, for example, again, in projects that we are developing in the architecture field, what we're trying to do, or the impact that for us is the intention here to enter the cycles. So in the sense that the ambition again is to identify how things are working in a way, in a specific context, and in a way the object that you're introducing in this context, it should recycle. I love to use this word in the sense that it's not recycling in the common sense, but it's rebooting the cycle. So it's in a way, as you can see in these buildings, these are proposals for, in the left example, an observation tower in Latvia, and on the other case we have a photovoltaic roof that is covering a car park. That is kind of, in both cases, you see this kind of mimetic ambition or mimetic idea of blending with the landscape, but not only in a way that is just a figurative way to do it, but it's also, in the case of the left, it's a collaboration with nature, so that the building is, for instance, completed by the plants that are growing on the structure that is not completed by purpose, so that you have something that is actually an intervention of the context, an active intervention of the context that is actually kind of parasitizing the building, and so there is this kind of relationship that is creating between the two entities and closing the cycle and kind of connecting them strongly. And we love to call it the confusion. So, and for us, it's the value of confusion. Confusion, I mean, again, from Latin, confundere. So that means to blend together. And again, to blend together the object that you're designing, in this case, the architecture, and the context. And the context could be a cultural context, as you can see here, this date palm vernacular architecture, through the use of technology, in this case, 3D printing using mud as a material that has this quality, that is very rough quality, to do what? To design buildings in this region. Here in the UAE, for instance, we're designing buildings that are using 3D printing, and they're trying to have this effect, or this, that are working with this value of confundere, of confusion, again, to blend in with the environment in a way that the building is also dirty. I like to say that, in the sense that the surface has a porosity that is able to capture the dirt, that is able to capture the sand that is carried by the wind, And so the sand is not something a stranger, is not something that is an alien, as you can see usually in completely glass building that we have here right now. So that you see the dirt because the glass is something now that is a different, I mean, that is not let's say something from the territory. And so in these cases here, the idea, the ambition again is to kind of create this merging, in a way, the context and the building itself. How do we measure it? I mean, there are many ways. Obviously, here I'm not talking about how we measure these things numerically, because I mean, obviously there are ways to do it, but I'm more talking about, let's say, a kind of how do we think, or how we think about what could be the impact of these things, and we use this as also a methodology to kind of guide the design process. So what is the capacity, for instance, to redefine the system? So if we're placing a building into such an environment and so on, what is the capacity of it to blend into it, and so to generate this this connection, and not only cultural connection, but also this I mean, physical connection in a way. So, and on the other hand, what are the new relationships between the actors? But this is more maybe what we try to do when we think about the values or the impact in product design. And usually when we think about products, the impact is something that is more intimate, more visceral. And also, if we're talking about, if you go back to the at the beginning, that I was saying, what is the level that you work with? It's more personal or intimate, individual, or it's more collective and or planetary. This is something that is an ambition, obviously. I mean, to work on a planetary level, but what we do, especially when we design products, we are more fascinated about the, let's say, the small scale in terms of the intimate relationship between us as human beings with our body and the other body, so the body of the object. And so it's really a relationship with between bodies. And this has to do with, you know, this is something that it's a sentence or a concept, let's say, that guides us a lot. I mean, in our way, in our approach, and so on. So the Marshall McLuhan, when he said, "No, we shape our tools, and thereafter they shape us." No, and this was so fascinating for me in the sense that the objects that are surrounding us, they're not innocent. They're not. Even the smallest one, they have. They are in a way shaping us. No. And I mean, I took this picture for an obvious reason. I mean, the smartphone, no, they are extremely integrating tools that they change radically, completely our way to communicate in a way. Because first of all, you know, if you see the difference between a traditional telephone, no, we don't even call any more than telephones. Now these are smartphones or mobile. No, so that's a first level of understanding of the impact, for instance, of such a technology. No, a telephone is something that is located in a specific place, an office, a house, and so is belonging to that place and not to you. Is an object that is related to a place or a space. Then the smartphone or the mobile is something that is radically connected to you as a person, that is following you every day. And this is on one hand. And then on the other one, you know, you have all the levels that you can add. Now, the fact that it's actually a mini computer, that is something that is expanding your possibilities of operating in the world. You know, you can book a taxi, book a restaurant, you can see the weather. I mean, there are many things you can do now with that tool in your pocket. So it's much more than a communication tool, or is a way to, you know, but at the same time, it changes. So it changed the way we talk to each other. For instance, it's difficult when you see or when you're in a restaurant and you you see a lot of people that are talking to other people not at the same table, for instance. So that's what I want to highlight now with this. I mean, that the object that we design, especially, they have a different level, of course, great impact. But again, talking back to what are our values, or what we try to use as, let's say, a guideline for us when we design objects, it's that we think that objects are prosthesis. I mean, and again, following what McLuhan said, the object is kind of an extension of yourself, an extension in terms of expanding your capacities, or in some cases also reducing. Just to give an example, a pair of glasses is a prosthesis to extend or to correct some malfunctions, you know, of your body. For example, a shoe is a tool that is able to give you the possibility to walk faster, maybe in some conditions. A bicycle, again, is a tool, is a prosthesis that is able to is giving you the ability to move faster, like in a car as well. A car is a bigger prosthesis, you know, that is able to move you from A to B in a faster way, and maybe to carry other people with you, and yeah. So, but again, because we think about the object in this way, you know, that are extensions of ourselves, for us it's very important the sensorial impact. So the experience that you have with the object. So what are you experiencing? And so considering the objects and the products, you know, as something that has its own force, that is able to trigger emotions, that is able to give you inspiration, not to do something or to act in a specific way. And what we try to do when we design objects is try to, again, let the object be something that is inspiring you to discover, unfold, understand the object itself. So it's kind of, we try to design objects that are not invisible, but not invisible in the sense that are not visible, in the sense that we try to design objects that are growing the curiosity in yourself, that are trying to tell you, okay, come here, unfold me, try to discover what I want to, to tell you, and so on. And like in the example here of this AC unit that we designed for hire years ago, that has this front panel that is actually expanding when the air is blowing out, and so it's kind of a magical effect, that triggers your interest and say, oh, what's going on there? That is, then you want to touch it, you want to be engaged, you want to have a physical contact, a physical relationship with the object itself. And again, it's not about beauty or ugliness, it's about the possibility to open doors. Actually, I'm more interested to ugliness than beauty, in the sense that there is a beauty in ugliness, or in the fact that, in a way, sometimes ugliness is something that is curious. I mean, I'm fascinated by, something that it has these irregularities, asymmetries, and so on. But this is another topic and more. So again, another sentence or a phrase that really inspired us, let's say, when we I mean, I talk to the past because, I mean, these are things that we are carrying on our shoulders now since years. It's a sentence by a Spanish philosopher, Fernando Savater, that is saying, true humanity does not begin with the anthropoid modeling a ball out of mud, but with the anthropoid that decorates this ball with geometric border that does not improve its usefulness in any way, but it increases its excellence. So what does it mean? I mean, yes, of course, we need objects that are functional. We need functionality. I mean, otherwise, I mean, it doesn't make sense. No, this is the primary thing. But it's not just that. I mean, we as human beings, we need something else. And this is again connected to what I said at the beginning. Now, it's we can design and we have an impact at different levels. No, and this is it. No, for me, in the sense that we try always to kind of incorporate many things at the same time, not to give different values, not to stratify values to the objects. Again, in a private, intimate way. I mean, not with ambition to kind of impact to the entire world, but more to have an impact to the single user, to the user that is triggered by the thing that is using, kind in a shy way, let's say. And so decoration. For here, I don't want to use decoration or decorate as a word referred to beauty or embellishment. Decoration tends to adorn something, but rather to the meaning that is in the military world. So when you give a decoration to a soldier, you are recognizing his values. So it's a confer distinction upon by means of a badge or a medal of honor, or something that has let's say define what are your values. So decoration for me is more that, and so decoration in a way is significance, so meaning, so how the thing has significance. And this is funny because again, it's not about ugliness or beauty. Although even if, there is a funny story behind this car, because I own this car, I love it. And many friends, were laughing at me and said, "Ah, but that's an ugly piece of, it's extremely disgusting and so on." But then, when you know what, when we were talking, first of all, we were talking a lot about this car. So, in the sense that it's so ugly, that it's beautiful. In the sense that we're talking a lot, and I discovered that for every friend of mine, I mean, they were seeing different things behind this car. First of all, it's very functional. No, it's a car with 6 seats. I mean, you can interchange the seats. I mean, you can have so it's extremely functional. But besides that, I mean, everyone sees something. For instance, I see a dolphin, and so it not only it's extremely functional, but I love to drive it because I don't have it anymore. I love to drive it because I was in a dolphin, or I was like, let's say, when I was looking to that car now from far away, I was looking at something now that reminded me of dolphin and the values now behind it. So again, this to see that how do we measure the impact of our design? Now, this is also a way that we use to understand if what we are doing it has some values. Now, is first of all the functional smoothness, what we call. So does it fulfill its function so that you don't think about it? So in the sense that it's natural the way that you use it. Okay, that's one for the first goal. And the second one is the evocative power. So in the sense that, again, if we take the example of the car, if it stimulates imagination and engagement, in the sense that if the object is able to engage you, if it's able to stimulate an interrelationship with you, if it's able to give you the power to imagine something else, imagine other things, then for me it's a very impactful object on a private, intimate level. And this is it. I mean, this is let's say the interpretation about the topic that was suggested by you.
Amazing, Mirko. Claps. I think there's a lot of interesting topics to discuss about, but I'm guessing our time is limited. I'm gonna go in reverse, talking about that car, yes. Which for me is blasphemous. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sit in the dolphin.
I know.
You know, but it's. Oh, Sajal is here as well. Hi, Sajal. So Sajal is one of our colleagues. So I think it's the last part where what you were talking about the decoration. I guess we can discuss about the subjective perception of impact, no? Because it's either a meaningful impact to those who manage to appreciate it, or it can be a non-meaningful impact for those when it's taken as a decoration or something as an accessory that in no way adds to its value, whether it's the perceptive value or its functional value.
Yes, definitely. I mean, depends on also, again, what is the intention? Because sometimes, you are, let's say, acting with intention within a culture, and you want to trigger something that is actually shared by a community. And that's one thing and one level of operating with design. And that's, again, when you want to, again, recreate the sense of community and these things. On the other hand, there is the possibility of, trigger that sense of subjectivity, in the sense that maybe, again, and this is something that probably we try to do in many cases, so to not to work within a cultural system, but kind of giving you something that is able to be interpreted, so that you are interpreting as you wish. I mean, in the sense that if you are stimulated in the sense that you want to discover it, unfold it, and maybe project some of your values, if it has the possibility to be an object that is able to absorb, the some other cultural values that are coming from someone else, and then so that you can project to the object. For me, it's successful in the sense that if it has this power, let's say, of absorb. I like also that.
This takes me to my second point. So you're talking about values. These values are either absolute, so they're not subjective, or like you said, there could be projected, that could be borrowed, that could be learned, that could be assimilated, that could be, I mean, so many things. So how do you think we can measure impact? You're discussing about measuring impact. So how can you measure the quality of an impact versus the outcome? If it's negative impact versus positive, if it's intimate or visual, what type of tools do you think could be used to categorize and measure the metrics of impact, basically?
Yes. Now it's a complex. Let's say it's a very beautiful question, but it's complex.
Let's take it. Maybe let's tie it to an example. The car. The car that you showed. How would we measure the impact of what they have done with this car over? So is it? Do you use the market data? Do you use the people? Do you use?
Yeah, exactly. No, this is actually what I wanted to talk also about. I mean, because for me, it's not only the market is not only the only let's say system that we can use to measure. Now, for instance, the quantity of cars that you sold now, it's not the measure that we can take now to, but maybe you know, there are other levels. Again, one level could be let's say, if the car, for instance, is in the imagery of the people, in the sense, if we have this car, if the people are recognize that car, no, because they knew that, and they discussed a lot about that. So again,
I guess this could be tied, for example, what happened with in the car industry with Fiat 500 or the Volkswagen or the Mini Cooper, that initially its impact was to transfer. So with the Volkswagen, the idea was to create a car for the people, to impact transportation, to make transportation public, whereas the new one became simply as
kind
the
of
same for the 500. The 500 was an amazing car for the popolo, and then for the people, and then now today it became something that's I'm guessing it lost its original impact. Yeah, that's exactly it. It lost its original impact and it changed level. It changed level, exactly. Exactly. So this, I guess, brings me to another point.
So now it's a status. No, it defines
exactly.
Before it was something else. Yes.
So another thing is about the scale and level of impact. So I guess we can. I mean, one could really publish a research paper on this. But I noticed that there are 4 types of or 4 levels of impact that one can talk about, and the scale in which we can discuss about is the impact on people, on the environment, on objects, and on networks, as in the relationships between the people, between the environments, between the objects. So that's actually quite interesting.
Well, yeah. Usually we do that also to simplify, no? So we categorize these elements to simplify the discussion, because obviously it's difficult to talk always about the whole system. That would be the ideal thing, no? Because also, what I was trying to say is also that when you do something on a small, let's say on a small scale, the impact could actually be projected now on a larger scale. But usually when we act as designer, we tend to kind of focus on a specific scale, let's say, and obviously, if you're doing, let's say, the discourse for a larger scale, that you have to maybe the challenge is also to how to visualize this, no? Because it could be a kind of a spiral that is always growing, or this could be a nice challenge actually for the future, also for us. I mean, to visualize these interrelationships, no? So that when you operate on a larger scale, you have to take in consideration the elements, the units, no? And how they are interacting to each other. When you operate on a smaller scale, probably let's say, the point is that usually you don't consider the larger scale, but then if you're, how to say, a responsible designer, you should do it. In the sense that even if you're operating in a smaller scale, you should consider the impact now. And what is the consequence now if you adopt that on a larger scale?
Yeah. I think we have an echo as someone. I think, yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So we have the responsibility to keep, let's say, our impact within the scale or within the scope of what we're doing. But sometimes I guess it's very difficult to imagine the chain reaction that something you do or the impact what you do will have. So I guess we can try to be as safe as possible. We have a question by Danya Rassan. She's asking, how likely will 3D printing be impacting our lives, just like the Citadel building in Dubai? Will we see it being implemented more in buildings and other objects, and will it have the ability to replace mud and brick? I guess this is a very confusing question, as in the new term that you were discussing, Mirko, on maybe it doesn't need to replace mud and brick.
No.
Be impactful. On the contrary, you can confuse them together. But I leave it to you.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. It's another. So how does, well, the impact is, okay, let's say additive manufacturing is something that is kind of now, is expanding, let's say, in different fields, at different scales and so on. So it is a new methodology, is a new method to operate in construction, manufacturing. That means that and so what is the difference between this manufacturing process and the previous ones? In the previous ones, we had, let's say, drawings or blueprints, to kind of project and design something, and to manufacture also the components. Now we have the possibility to simulate directly in our computers, how to manufacture things. So we have the control of the manufacturing. That is I mean, from my point of view, the main difference, and the thing that we can control the machines directly through through the computer, and so through the simulation better, so that the simulation that we do in the computer now is then replicated in real life. And then the beautiful thing is that we can also kind of use that in real life experience to inform back the system and close the loop, so to kind of generate, let's say, systems that are cyclical in this way. So what is the impact? What would be the impact? Well, for now is relative or very low, in the sense that we are at the beginning of, and we are trying to see where and how we can apply these technologies, especially in different fields, and there are problems of performance, obviously, but the potentials are high. So that's the reason why we are also investing in all that. Probably, again, what I believe is that the future is going to be very, how to say, blended, in the sense that obviously we're not going to use 3D printing to do the whole thing, or maybe to build up components, parts. But the positive thing is that it's a way to operate that is by means incorporating other things. So the advantage is that we can kind of pre-configure things in a simulation in a digital way, so that I mean, this is one of the main advantages that we can say about it. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, it seems so. Thanks, Tanya. Good question. Two more things, and then I'm done. I noticed the correlation of the word. So how you type design to impact. I noticed the correlation of impact to the word design in Italian, because when we say to design something, we say to progettare, no?
Sì, yeah.
To hit it or to throw it in advance, to like hit it somehow in advance.
Throw away, but in front of you.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's what the gettare in Italian means, or I'm guessing in Latin it means to literally throw. Pro is in advance. To so I think impact and the Italian word or the Latin word to project or to really design are quite related, or they're very interconnected. So I think it's only natural to talk about design and impact under the same umbrella.
Definitely. I know that's the reason why I'm saying there is no difference for me. And again, the impact could be negative, could be positive, could be big or small. I mean, the impact, it's there because even a small object like a pen, again, has an impact to me if I, constantly write by hand, or I take sketches and so on. This is changing my body. This is changing my way of think as a consequence. So again, the impact is on the individual in this case, and on an individual level. But then there is, even on a small object like that is not small, because it's, I mean, again, it's a huge technology in the sense that, I mean, now we have this thing. I mean, now we have this little thing not here in our hands, but it's I would say an iteration it's an evolution of tools now that we use over and over. And again, yeah, so no,
and the final one that also ties with what you just said is I'm not sure if it's quality when the impact is symbolic. So so you're talking about the knives, for example. No, that could be each typology of knife can have a different impact in relation to how it's going to be used. But some types of knives, take the Arabic knife, for example, that you see in Lawrence of Arabia, my favorite movie. It's the knife itself. If once it was a knife that you would use today, it becomes, its impact is much more symbolic. And let's say if this is an antique knife, then its impact is much profound than that. But yet again, it's a subjective impact that you're assigning to it. In relation to the time, in relation to the antiquity, in relation to the emotional values that this object carries to you. So this takes us also to the topic of, if we're discussing about impact of design on an object, on an environment, so those four categories, or object, environment, or person, or the impact of the object on its user. So when you're designing, the impact of design on the object, or the impact of the object on its user. So you have this the interrelation of these two types of impacts.
Well, for example, this makes me thinking about what we're trying to do right now, in the sense that, for instance, the discussion between me and my brother right now is shifting, let's say, from the idea of prosthesis to the idea of bodies, in the sense that, for example, if you think about prosthesis, the relationship is between bodies, you and the other body. That is incorporation. So that there is an utilitarian way to, extend the capacities of one body through another body. But then now we are facing, let's say, another typology of objects. Let's say when we talk about autonomy and autonomous objects, using robotics, for instance, and I mean, when I say robots, I also think about the Roomba. I'm not talking about, I mean, Terminator 2. No, I'm talking about things that we can use right now, and they're robots basically. I consider them not prostheses, but bodies, in the sense that it's a body-to-body relationship. And what does it mean? That we are giving to objects another level of possibility to act into the environment and interact with the environment, humans, and other objects. So this is challenging, and it's for us. I mean, we are discussing about that, how to shift our interest also from this idea of the intimate stimuli that an object has on a single person, to this idea of what is the impact of an object that has its own autonomy in an ecology of other objects, and how. So for us as designers, what can we do in terms of, in these terms, in terms of what are we generating new entities, not objects anymore, but again, interactive entities. And again, I don't want to say just the word interactive, but because there is this, when you, in a way now, again, I use the Roomba again as an example. When this thing is, I love to see my dogs playing with the Roomba, in the sense that I don't have it, but when we go to some, I'm talking to the
probably they will be scared.
They're scared as hell. I mean, they're fighting against these guys, and they are actually, in a way, interacting also with the dogs, because now they are an obstacle, so they are kind of getting away, and so it's interesting to see this interaction between these two entities, the dog on one hand and the Roomba on the other one. So and so this is fascinating us right now. I mean, for the future also, for the I don't remember the question, sorry.
Well, my cat is scared of the robots. They try to avoid it as much. I tried to put them on it, but it didn't work. I like those cute videos. So so the interaction wasn't very impactful, or at least it was, but in not an expected way. So then here we talk about the expected impact and an unexpected impact, or foreseen impact versus the unforeseen impact.
But for instance, I give you an example. There is a product that I really like, that is the Gita, that is from Piaggio Fast Forward, that is a urban companion, that you can, it can follow you when you walk in the city to carry things but it's such a simple object. When I describe it, I mean, I usually refer to movies like Star Wars, that where you see this ecology of living and non-living things that are interacting to each other, so that it's a kind of an equal system of or kind of flat system of interaction between living and non-living. And so what if we imagine the future, or the urban context, let's say the urban space, that is actually this series of interaction between living and non-living entities, and that partially is we are kind of witnessing these things, because here in Dubai, now we have some, but even in China, when I went last time, there were this automatic vending machines on wheels, guided by AI. And that's it. I mean, this is it. I mean, this is the thing that we have to, that are going to configure our spaces and our new relationships.
Behaviors as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. What do you think, Azza? Are we behaving?
So far, so good. So far, so okay.
Okay, from my side, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have more time?
I think we could do another, I don't know if you guys have the energy for another 10 more minutes, and if anyone has any more questions to ask in terms of...
No problem.
in terms of the audience, but if no one has anything further to add, we can.
Arnav has a question, I'm sure. Arnav, go ahead.
You just put him on the spot there. You just decided to put him on the spot.
Arnav, next year you're with me, so I can still give you -5s.
Good luck, Arnav.
This is not fair.
Arnav.
This is not fair.
This is documented bullying. I'm just saying. Just saying.
This is being recorded, right?
Yes, it is. Just keeping an eye out for you. Well, I guess I know from my side, I'm more than happy with where this conversation has gone. Thank you guys so much for your time, for your candidness, for your
amazing intervention,
for taking us through this journey. It really does begin to scratch the surface of how far and how impactful truly design has the ability to be. I mean, just seeing the knives and seeing the varieties of them, if that does not give you a light bulb moment, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
At that point, to me, I was just like, what? This is amazing. I had like my own personal aha moment. So I just wanted to, thank you on behalf of everybody here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for patiently taking us through this and for demystifying the world of design and its relationship with impact, subtle or forceful, however way you want to look at it. So thank you guys so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks. And good night, you guys.